Is it possible that we see less of a peak in 10 days, or now that it's already so close?
Yeah, I mean, yes. We need, and it's not just the peak, right? It's also like everything that happens after the peak. Like how long does the peak last, right? I mean, so every person who gets infected is a person who gets infected, and every person who gets infected is someone who can pass it on. So we need to limit that capacity. And so what social distancing means to me is that for anything other than needing to feed yourself or earn a living to feed others or yourself, there's no other reason to go out. And then if you do go out, that means you're literally, putting on your mask. You are, um, you're staying 6 feet away from anyone you see. You are either wearing gloves and then throwing away your gloves before you touch anything, or aggressively sanitizing your hands. Um, that's what it means to me. So if I hear a lot of folks be like, "Yeah, man, quarantine's awful, but I get to see my girlfriend every day." You're like, "What? What? Like, do you live with your girlfriend? Because like, if you live with your girlfriend, that's one thing, right? But like, if you're just like going out, right? Like, not the thing." Uh, and like, yeah, there's like perfectly good opportunity to just be like, you know what? At this point, like, we just got to decide where we're going to be and go from there. But you just make sure folks need to understand you're as exposed as the most exposed person with whom you are exposed. That's how viruses work, right? So like you're taking a risk every single time you're like hanging out with a group of friends. You're like, oh yeah, all my friends are social distancing, so like we can social distance together. Like not social distancing, that's social approximating, not the same thing, right? So I just want folks to understand that, right? Like we got to be aggressive about this, and I know it sucks. I know Zoom meetings are not the same as meetings. I know you want to like hang out with your friends. You'd like to go out. Like it's beautiful outside. I get it. I understand, but COVID sucks, and COVID sucks worse than going out is good. That's it, right? And it's like even then, it's just like even if you see yourself as not being at particularly high risk, people you love are. And I said in the very beginning of this, like I don't ever want to be the reason why somebody I really love gets sick and dies.
Right. And it should be as simple as that, honestly. It's a pretty simple cost benefit analysis here. And some of the things we've heard, especially back when I was still attending college, is, it's not as bad as the flu. The flu kills a lot of people every year. And there are reasons why that's not true, but I want to hear from you why that's not the case and why we're taking so many more steps to prevent this from, continuing to spread than we would the yearly flu.
All right. I'm going to see if I can give you a top 10. Number one, COVID is 10 to 20 times as deadly as the flu. Even though we're talking about 1% or 2%, with the flu, you're talking about 0.1% or 0.2%. 1% is a lot of people, right? The average person knows about 600 people. And, if you're in college, you know more than that. I want you to think about 6 out of the people just dropping dead.
Yeah.
That sucks. Nobody wants that. That's bad. You don't want that. So that's number one. Number two, COVID is far more infective than flu is. And the point here is that you're not dealing with linear dynamics. Like most of us in our minds think linearly, right? A little bit more than the rest every time, and you have a linear curve. This is exponential curve. So a little bit more turns into a lot more over the long term, right? So the average number of people who will get sick from one case of the flu is 1.4. The average number of people who get sick from COVID looks to be about 3, right? So I want you to think about the difference between 1.4 to the 10 versus 3 to the 10. It's like astronomically different, right? So that's number 2. Number 3, we have no vaccine for COVID. Number 4, we have no known treatment, despite what the president wants to keep thumping on at the White House. There is no known treatment. Number 5, COVID is hitting us all at the same time, whereas the flu is not. That's a big difference. Number 6, the flu has a little bit more of an even distribution, and it affects kids, whereas COVID seems to have an exponentially high distribution in terms of the deaths it causes to people with chronic illness and the elderly. And we've got a lot of elderly folks in our society with chronic illnesses, which is part of why it's more deadly. 7, we are not ready for this season of COVID season because we just don't have enough ventilators to be able to treat everybody if everybody were to get sick. 8, our bodies have no baseline immunity to coronavirus, right? We have a lot of baseline immunity to the flu. And even though you have different strains of the flu every year, your body kind of knows how to deal with some of the flu. And so there's some residual immunity that exists in us that we don't have for a virus that humanity has not seen for ever until 6 months ago. 8, was that 8, 9? 9, we don't know as much as we think we should about coronavirus. We know a lot about the flu, right? Flu's been around for a while. For a disease that's only been around for 6 months, we don't know much about it. So like things that we take for granted with the flu, that if you've had a flu, you're going to be immune. We don't know that that's the case with coronavirus. And then 10, people making that excuse just don't want to deal with the fact that they have a responsibility to everybody else. So don't make that excuse. That's my best at doing
Yeah,
so.
that's fair enough. And that's plenty of reasons, more than enough to justify social distancing.